Danica had some follow-up questions.
Just to a couple of things. My first one is on the sick leave conversion. Based on this school year, the most recent school year, what percentage of the bargaining unit would be eligible for that incentive if we based it on this past year?
I have a number. I do not have a.
No worries. Any number, any digit.
It's 270.
There you go. 275 people. So, perfect. And then my other question was in relation to Article 36 on the addenda. Yeah, okay. I think that we discussed this yesterday in caucus and we're all for the esports and adding that thumbs up. But it made us look at some other things that I think we want to look at like in the future. So I just had some questions on those to just clarify. So that way, when we talk later, we know what we're talking about. Looking on page 2 at under co-curricular experience for high school. And this is just an example of maybe what I'm noticing in a larger trend, but I just want to see. So like, for example, on drama. Again, under co-curricular where there's a head drama and then an assistant drama. Do you know if that drama rate is based on per production or per year? Because the high schools do multiple productions. So I just didn't know how that was paid out.
I don't understand.
So could it
Like
be
the first
several
one,
different
yes.
people doing it, or could it be the same person doing it, getting paid for Wizard of Oz here, getting paid for Sleeping Beauty here, getting paid for, or is it?
Or is it just one flat rate for the year?
Yes.
One for the year, okay.
We do occasionally have people who will cancel, and then, add a new addendum, or occasionally they will split an addendum.
Right. Okay. Okay, that just answers the question for something that we might bring up in the future. Thank you. That's all.
Anybody else have anything? Any follow-up questions?
Okay, so, you had asked questions yesterday about the rubrics for the support staff that have a separate rubric. So, first, thank you, we appreciate knowing that the links aren't working. We will get those fixed. One of the things we discovered and learned is that those links rolled over, we moved from Blackboard to our current website. And so, we have to reestablish the documents to relink. So while we're doing that, we did pull down a copy of each of those rubrics from Telenet. So that you have a copy of them.
Thank you.
We will be reformatting those before we link them. That'll take a minute.
Right. I think while we're on appendix B, we'll review these before we have an official answer, but I will just say that I think at this point, we would lean more on the side of let's include everything instead of let's not include any of them. But that's why we want an opportunity to go in and look at them, because if they align exactly with what's already in there, then we would feel like that's redundant. Does that make sense? So we will look at those today, and get an answer back on that. One way or the other. Yeah, so I think.
So then do you have a response on 36 in the addition of esports?
Yes, yes, the Cap City thing and esports, yes, we can, TA that this morning.
Perfect.
It did occur to me. I thought we talked about the music agendas not being prorated. Did I make this up in my head?
We discussed it. I had Helen, Kelly pull the data. We have not gone through like person by person and analyzed all of that, at this time. So I think that's something that we probably would need to notice for next year.
Okay,
Because we had talked about when we met, removing that one or, we're not ready for that.
okay. Yeah, but, yeah, so we can TA that this morning if you have somebody to phone on.
Oh, no, sorry, nobody's got it.
Right on this. I was writing it.
Anybody wants me copy of 36?
That's right.
Where would you go? So, yes.
Yeah, this is.
We read on the last page.
I mean, I didn't, but I just TA'd by the top message, because all I wrote was introduced the date. Thank you. I did. Go in and we will get that, so that's not really. I did go in and edit the Article 26 duty year that we talked about yesterday,
Okay.
so you have a written copy to look at. Yeah, while you're doing that. And then I did go ahead and change new staff orientation to new staff academy, because that seems to do, I put NSO on everything and then people don't know what that means, because apparently we call it NSA now. So I just went ahead and changed that. And then there's one. Yeah. And then there should be an extra.
Sorry?
There should be one extra in one period. So yeah, so it just, I went in and just adjusted the numbers for that 186 and then adjusted the instructional days accordingly, and then I took out the very last sentence of that paragraph because I don't understand in how we can say above that they have 4 days and their salary would be calculated on those 4 extra days being added, but then say that the number of days is determined by the calendar.
I agree with that.
It didn't really, I was like reading that last night, I was like, I don't understand what this means.
I do want to point out that this is Article 25.
Oh, my bad, sorry,
Okay, I
It
just
was-
want everybody to
late at night.
be on the same page with that. Thank you for typing this up. Appreciate it.
No problem, and then. Let's just do this. I think we have. Some concerns about the sick leave conversion. Language. I think we don't feel like this encompasses what we were trying to do. I think it was Tuesday, we were talking about something else and I said. I was asked basically what the bargaining unit, like what the reasoning is, and I said, grown-ups want to be treated like grown-ups. And I think what we heard last night from people was that they don't feel like this is the level of grown-up that they wanted. So we appreciate the effort to move the needle a little bit, but I think for us, this just doesn't encompass what we were trying to do, and I was a little disappointed that I felt like we spent a lot of time rewriting all of the rules and constraints around days in order purposefully to make it so that someone couldn't just go take 12 days off in a row, or even like 5 days in a row without some sort of medical healthcare documentation to make that possible. And then what I feel like we heard back was there's concern that people would then just use this too much, even though we left a lot of those restrictions in the language on purpose, specifically to make it clear that that wasn't the intention of what we were doing. So I think for us, this just the sick leave conversion, I think, isn't gonna do it. We're all still trying in our head to mull over a way to maybe make some more changes, but less changes than we introduced already. We just haven't figured out what that looks like yet. So at this point, we aren't interested in the sick leave conversion. Maybe we can adopt that into some other version of our Article 43, but we still need some more time to look at what that looks like.
I think too, when you say you have 10 days. You should be able to use those 10 days without. I mean, it's a gift and then it's like, oh, well, that gift has parameters. Oh, okay, so then we have to think about how do we, I mean, I'm gonna put myself out there. I had my daughter's graduation stuff going on the Friday before, which is a blackout day. I couldn't take a personal day because it's a blackout day. My principal said you have to use a sick day. And so then I'm like, well, I guess I'm sick that day. And so you have to lie. And that just puts people in a bad position that they have to lie when everybody knows where they're going because I'm excited about my daughter graduating. So it's just paid time off. I put in the time, my sub was covered. I had it all figured out, you know, wasn't leaving anybody in a lurch, but I had to lie on the document when I'm signing in saying I'm gonna be sick that day.
There
So,
is a provision that when.
well, my
the
principal told me no. She said I had to take a sick day. So I went by what my principal said.
There is language, that specifically outlines if you have something significant going on with an immediate family member, graduation, wedding, there are exceptions.
And it wasn't, well, her situation was different. It wasn't gonna be within the 10 days that we have to submit it for. I think that's the rule. I could be wrong. Because she travels. And I literally knew the week of what day that was gonna be. So, my situation seemed a little different, but yet I had the open lines of communication with my principal. She knew what was going on. There wasn't a problem with it. It's just the fact that I had to do sick day. That's, if it's paid time off. I don't have to be sick to be gone that day. If that makes sense.
I also did go in and pull some statistics just in case people are curious, because I was, so. Outside of our industry, typically, workers, 22% of workers use all of their sick leave that's provided to them in 1 year versus our 27%. Interestingly enough, if you didn't know, younger workers below 30 take less than everybody else, in case that wasn't obvious to people. However, the thing I found really interesting is that in education, the overall average number of days that an employee takes pre-pandemic was 8 days. And post-pandemic, most vulnerable populations, which by the definition that they used would include 501, have increased and ours hasn't. So I felt like we should feel kind of good about that. I don't know if it's gone down or it's just stayed the same. in the last 6 years, but I personally felt really good about the fact that we're beating that statistic at least, because there are a lot of at-risk statistics that we always excel in sometimes, so I felt like that was really great for us. So I think it just raised some concerns for us that we are more in line nationally than I think we sometimes feel like it seems, which I think is true in education in general. We spend a lot of time focusing on that 15% or less, but you still have a whole 85% of people that, students, adults, whatever, that are all doing the right thing and following the rules most of the time. So I think for us, it just raised some more questions about what we could potentially do to move the needle a little bit more in the direction that we wanted to move it. And then we wanted to know if you guys would be open to the idea of adding a 48-hour notice in the representation for the improvement initial meeting at the last meeting.
If you wanna pass the counter proposal, we would be happy to consider that.
Okay, we will do that. We will add that in there and then get that to you.
I can speak a little bit on just the sick leave conversion. We have two parts from that topic. I think, and again, to reiterate that we have had a lot of conversation about it. We want to provide some flexibility where we can. We just can't do it, all of it, all at once without having some time to study what's the effect on the budget for that, how many more subs will we need to place each year, things like that. But then also just, I think there's some fundamental difference in philosophy around the number of days that we give to the sharp kind of started out our side of the conversation on that was saying that, it's never intended really that everyone use all 10 of those days every year. We want folks to be able to build those up and have a bank for when they need that surgery or time off to have a baby, things like that. And I'm worried that converting all of it to one lump of PTO or too large of a number encourages everyone to believe or change the mindset that this is an entitlement I'm given. I use all 10 of my days every year. And then we're not having any backup protection for those things. The stories that we hear when an employee hits one of those life moments that they need the time off and they don't have that, just telling you some of them are pretty heartbreaking. We wish more professional employees, staff would think about that as they're using it and make sure that they're leaving themselves some buffer for that. So that's really where we're coming from and trying to maintain still sick time is sick time. Having some bank of that and not having it just be used for all purposes. So that's kind of why we're stuck on having that separated. What is personal time to be used discretionary? What is sick time that is really for that intended purpose? And while I appreciate the honesty that we all understand, there's some folks that feel like they need to be dishonest in the process. We understand that, but that's not where we can really start from a negotiation standpoint, that we're just okay with that we're not following the agreement as it's written. We've got to try and move the needle, to use your term, in a way that will help with that, but we need professionals to be professionals and hold up their end of the agreement as well and use it for intended purposes for as long as that's the language in the contract. Now, as far as the number of days given, things like that, we've also looked at that data. I'll share just a quick data point that I've looked up. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, March 2025, employee benefits, private industry workers averaged 7 sick days for year-round employment. So we are giving 10, so higher than the average across the country.
But in line with the educational average, but yeah. Just to be fair, across the nation, 10 is the average in education.
So, and then compared to, I'm just using private sector to show some compare and contrast to what our citizens of the school district and who pay the taxes to help support our budget we're working with as well. So we are trying to move in a direction where we can to meet you, and not just hold firm on current language as is. But there's only so far we can go once. So I just, as you continue to put together your counter proposal to that, I just hope you understand that we really did try to do as much as we can up front for you.
Yeah, I think we all appreciated the time and thought that clearly you guys took to read it over and evaluate what you put in front of us. At the end of that, I will say, just because you also said it, I spent a lot of time last night talking to people. You said professionals as professionals, and a lot of people feel like what they hear you say, and what they heard yesterday when this happened was that I am not adult enough to decide when I need to use my leave, to know that I should be banking leave when I need to. I think we in education tend to be helpers, just in general. An overwhelming majority of us want to be helpful. That's why we got into education. We want to teach people things. And so we tend to do that in our personal lives with people who are not children. And our staff, overwhelmingly, what we're hearing is are very tired of feeling like they're just not being treated like the grown-up professional that they are. And again, we recognize that there is a percentage of our staff that don't follow the rules, right? Just like there's a percentage of our students that don't follow the rules. That three-tier model works at all age levels. So we recognize that. We are just trying to lean into the side of the people who are following rules, and giving them some credit for, and all of our staff some credit for being here and showing up and doing the job that we all know can be really difficult some days. But so I just wanted to say, like, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of how that wording is coming across to the staff, because it's not coming across in a good way. They don't feel like they need to be managed that much in how they use their sick leave, or when they use it, or whether it's banked or not banked or whatever. So I just wanted to make that.
I think
Aware
the
to everyone.
other big concern that we have is how many more days would staff be taking off that then is affecting days that kids have a certified teacher in front of them?
We aren't disagreeing with the concern. That's exactly why we spent so much time writing all of the restrictions and things in a way that we felt like gave people the ability to use the leave when they needed to, and encompassed. You've been at the table long enough, you've heard me say it. Me and my partner have been together for over 18 years, and if he got sick today, he and I do not reside together. I am ineligible to take leave for him. If he died, I can't take bereavement leave. He's not considered an immediate family member. We have a joint bank account, we share health insurance, we share bank accounts, we share insurance, we share cell phone plans, but we both appreciate the ability to own our own home and be very proud of the fact that we financially can both do that in this economy particularly. He isn't considered an immediate family member. So we tried to look at situations like that and just expand the language in a way that made some of those things not quite as rigid, right? We all have family members that aren't really family, right? And we wanted to encompass those things. We wanted to give people the ability to not have a medical provider do it, because it's not always a medical provider that I need a note from. That language is just kind of outdated, right? Like I wouldn't call a therapist a medical provider. I would definitely call them a healthcare provider. They are providing mental health care. So we just tried to do some of that in a way that we felt like just opened that up a little bit more, but also left some restrictions. So we will go back and continue to evaluate what that potentially could look like, and come back with something maybe somewhere more in the middle.
Thank you.
I think that was everything from yesterday, right? Did I miss anything?
Are you needing time to Also have a counter on Article 20.
Yeah, we were gonna go and, look at adding that 48 hours. Notice in there
Okay.
and come back with that.
So would you like the caucus at this point?
Yeah, we can do that. It is 9:28. Oh, wow. If you want, we have some more stuff we can give you so that you guys have more things to consider while you're in caucus too.
Would be great.
Two different ones? Yeah. One page each. So. So you're getting two documents, you're getting the, our suggested salary schedule and our suggested health insurance premium increase. Here, she's here. Thank you. I have one of each, or there is one, people need one, and then there should be an extra. So on our salary, I have one. Oh, yes, okay. On our salary schedule, I do want to point this out. This is a thing that we spent a lot of time talking about. And I'm not sure that this is the wording that really explains what we were trying to do, but I tried to word it in a way that made it very clear. So we are really interested in looking at moving away from, we give X amount of dollars on the base and then every cell gets that same amount. And moving to a model of, we give X amount as a minimum amount on the base. So in this case, $2,000, that is converted to a percentage, which in this case is 3.9%, 3.96%. And then that 3.96% is applied to every cell on the salary schedule. We recognize in advance that that has a higher cost attached to it. We are unaware of that, and we are almost done computing what that dollar increase amount for you guys would be. Because we also, if you notice, extended the salary schedule, so we're working on incorporating that increase in here too. And then if you notice, the last sentence probably doesn't make a lot of sense because I'm not really sure I knew what I was talking about when I typed it last night. But our intention is that anyone that would be on step, in either stuck on a gray step, like step 10 in the bachelor's or step 25 in a master's, that if they're eligible to move three cells down, they get their 3 cells. If they're eligible for all 5, they get all 5. So they would recoup whatever that step movement that they haven't been eligible for is with the extension of the schedule. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'm not sure that that sentence really explains that in the way that we want it to, but I just tried to get something on paper as a place to start so that you guys kind of knew what we were referencing. So we are almost done getting you guys a final number on this, for that. And then as a part of that, also, we gave you 38, which is our proposal of the increase on the premium. So I will just explain kind of our thinking of where we came up with that so that you guys know where we started. We just looked at what the employee only plan D would cost. And then applied the same rounding that we did last year to that number to the base for all of the other employee plans, which came out to be $670. But then we also had to increase that D plan amount because it changed. So then we reflected that one. And then our understanding, what our intention is that the increments that are currently involved in the employee family, employee child, all of those incremental changes would just stay the same. So if it's a $20 increase to that one, then it would be $20 if it's like whatever that gap is. And I have all of those written out. They're not in the agreement, so I didn't know where to put them.
Okay. Team have any questions?
To say, let's come back after caucus with this one, and I know you said that there's some catch-up provisions you have in there, so maybe I'm not understanding, or maybe this is a typo, but in your salary grid, for example, the doctoral column, year 30, 77,100 is lower than the 25-year step, 77,554.
Well, I use somebody else's formula spreadsheet.
It's updated now.
So we'll print you a new copy, apparently.
Thank you.
Thank you for figuring that out, because I didn't know that. Did you update the one I printed, or did you updated the other one?
I was doing that. Master one, it should be this much, so it's not the same.
Not nitpicking typos, I just wanted to make sure that.
No, I appreciate you pointing that out, because I didn't catch it.
Thank you for putting into words, so I was like, that number is not what's matching on my spreadsheet, but why is that? And I didn't look up 5 rows to see.
It happens.
So we'll get that fixed and reprinted and brought over to you so that you have the actual numbers. But we didn't change, I mean, just for knowledge, we didn't change the steps, increase amounts or anything like that. So. I mean, I don't think it will be a number you're shocked by. We all know that steps are $500. So. Except for my computer last night. apparently.
Thank you. I appreciate having this. I was also curious about your 36 or 31. Just so we have all the factors on the table money wise. So that hopefully when we come back in July, we can get done.
Oh, I don't have them printed right now, but I can get them done for you and printed today. Yes,
Okay.
and we can present those today.
Then I feel like we're in a really good spot to have all the information we need to make some really good proposals in July and wrap up.
Good.
How long would you like to caucus?
So. And then you need to pregnancy basically. We probably need this week. Can we do 10:45, just over an hour? And we'll have,
Yes, our team will need to take lunch at 11:30.
yep, that's fine, and then we can just get together, exchange those, and then we can pause at 11:30 for lunch.
Perfect.
Great, okay. Thank you.
Brenda, could I have 1 minute of your time? This is not table.
Uh-huh. Well, you don't start like that. Oh,
Thank you.
Okay. So we have, you guys got the salary, the updated salary schedule that was corrected? Did Terry bring that into you?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
And you've got the updated Article 29, or 25. We have. Let's do this. Oh, it's gonna do it there. And then we do that one. Yeah. Let me go this way. Danica is passing out. An updated Article 43, 40 and 44 is still in there also. Yes, thank you. So basically what we did was we went back to sick leave, personal leave language. We you'll notice like we deleted a bunch of stuff, but all of that stuff says the same thing, basically. Just for like like critical illness of you, or critical illness of a family member, or personal illness for you, like, so we just went and created that list as one list, so. You have to provide documentation from a healthcare provider for absences under the following circumstances, so it would still be 3 consecutive days. We upped the 6 days in a school year to 8. And then the 2 days professional or PD, 2 days that are disallowed for personal still. And then we deleted the language about defining what an immediate family member would be. In Article 44.
Okay, any questions from the team? Did you want to provide any other explanation?
We just try, I mean, like we said before, we went to caucus, like we just were trying to find a way to make a step without potentially threatening the budget in a way that would be that I don't, well, I'm trying to come up with a synonym for bad and I can't come up with one. That would be bad.
Sustainable.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, and then we just felt like repeating the same thing over and over and over again just seems like a lot of words for not a lot of reasons. So we felt like this was kind of a good middle ground of like, if you need to take sick leave, but you still have restrictions to follow about when we need documentation of that and from like a doctor or your therapist or whoever that would be. And then we just felt like we talked about a little bit beforehand, the defining what people would consider a family member, we wanted to get rid of that idea. So.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay, and then the other thing that you got was the updated Article 20 with the 48-hour notice of the scheduled initial meeting, scheduled final meeting. Yeah, it's fine.
Any questions from the team?
Okay.
Thank you.
Danica is passing out 31, yeah, Article 31. And BJ and Eric are passing out our extra duty language.
Do you want to start with 31? Just so,
Yeah, so we, I can't off the top of my head remember exactly how many, I have one, exactly how many years it was, I have both, yeah. That we did the LSCSW work, so the counselor family came back to us. Their requirements for their degree to be a school counselor has changed by the group that oversees the standards for their licensure stuff. So they feel like, and we would agree, that the level of hours and things that they now have to obtain to receive their license and then receive the LCPC has met a different threshold, that we feel like the LCPC matches the LSCSW level of like the work that they have to do in order to get that license. And they are now required to do the additional hours of field-related graduate college courses, which was language for other areas, but not school counselors. I'm sure there's a counselor somewhere watching this that was like, Brenda, that was the worst aspect. I'm trying really hard, yeah.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from the team? Right, moving to 36.
So all we did was, I just copied 36 out of the contract, instead of trying to retype it for you, and added a new caret, and then we created that caret on a separate page for you. So we heard from the middle school coaches that there is been a problem with a coach that potentially, depending on how many students they have, would potentially have to coach more than one team at a time, but then receives the addenda the same way that a coach who only coaches varsity or only coaches JV would receive. Instead of getting compensated for that additional responsibility of having to coach while managing a group of kids that aren't playing and then having to switch and.
So they
another
coach
team.
a varsity game while JV is sitting there and they have to watch JV because there's no other coach there. And then when that varsity game is done, they have to go coach JV while the varsity kids are sitting there. Because again, there's not another coach there to help supervise. It's one person doing both levels, for lack of a better term.
But then there will be a coach that is at a different site
Right.
for the B team. So they would have had two coaches, but they are required to play 3 games, 3 different teams, varsity, JV, and a B team.
We couldn't come up with a label for like what varsity JV and here, like we don't know what that type is.
We tried to define what those would be called, varsity, JV, A team, B team, C team. I don't know what else we would call that.
So you're identifying a minimum, coach per team. What constitutes a team? Like,
Well,
how many kids constitutes a team?
the schedule that is made by the activities coordinators do a varsity, JV, and B team. So there are 3 teams per all of those that have been carried.
So if it's basketball, we can I assume, I know that's a dangerous thing, can I assume that that's a minimum of 5 people on that team?
That would be the absolute minimum, but we have
I
had.
know, I
I
understand.
have, I'll say it this way, I have coached where I've had 8 kids. And because the other team, and this was a B team, the other team wanted to play 2 games, that my 8 kids had to play 2 games. So you have to finagle with the Acacia rules on how many quarters they can get.
And I don't have the minimum, I don't know,
It
Dustin would
depends on
have,
the sport.
yeah,
It does.
Dustin would have
It
all of that
does
information,
depend
he's
on
the
the
one who
sport.
sets those standards. Is my understanding anyways. So, and I talked, I think you might, this came up at morale committee, so me and Dustin actually touched base about this. And this was kind of the way that the conversation went, that we talked about kind of two options, either providing those people an additional addenda that are having to coach two teams, or just making it so that they have to have a separate coach for that JV team or varsity, however that would break out. And I think I felt like when we ended the conversation, we both kind of fell on the side of, for safety reasons, it would be better to have the adult instead of just paying one adult to do two jobs, basically. Because it just provides that full-time, I'm in charge of this group of kids person. So from a safety perspective, it just made more sense to do it this way.
Okay,
If we needed to split the sport into two teams because of that scenario where the size of the team is so small, but they're different levels. Are you implying that the addendum will be shared between those two coaches then, or it's the full addendum for each one?
So the way, like basketball, for example, my understanding is that the head coach would be the JV team. The number one assistant would be or varsity team, the number one assistant would be JV, and the assistant would be B. So the addendum, like, it's not, you wouldn't then potentially have two varsity teams, you would have a varsity team, a JV team, and then everybody else goes to B, so you just kind of funnel them down accordingly.
And we have had situations where we don't have enough to have a B team altogether. So it would have been just a JV and a varsity, and the B team doesn't, against the other team, doesn't have somebody to play. So you move them up to where you have JV varsity, and the B team is the one that gets the lack. But if you have enough, according to the rubric, to have two coaches, but not three coaches, there's a B team coach that goes with them, and the varsity goes with two teams. Did that make sense?
Well, talk with Mr. Dick and get that side too. Thank you, that's. On your updated salary schedule, I did have one question about that, just as we start to put a little price tag on this. It references in the bottom, the $500 still between steps, but we noticed, and maybe it's a formal issue again, but there's.
No, it wouldn't, they wouldn't be, you would be right, yeah. It would not have a set dollar amount between steps,
Okay,
yes.
so because sometimes it's 520.
Yeah, I guess we'd have to get rid of the dollar amount. They would be eligible for their step for experience, but not, it wouldn't have a flat rate anymore. Because of the percentages applied, the numbers would change, so the step increases would change. Yeah, thank you for catching that. And we did pull, I mean, we all know that our estimates are always a little off. But we did pull a dollar amount for you guys if you would like that.
yes.
So salary, including the extension, recouping their steps, and applying the 3.96% across the board. We anticipate a 2.6 million increase total. And then with the insurance request, upping that board paid portion would be 1.37 million. Just under 3.98, yeah. So the total would be 3.98 million total for both.
Thank you very much
for sharing all of your proposals so that we can see everything that you're wanting, so that we really can make some good informed decisions and come back to you with something that is meaningful. It's going to save us a lot of time at the table, so I appreciate you being forthcoming with the proposals.
Yeah, no problem.
I guess I'm kind of wondering if we can just wrap up today before lunch
I don't, yeah,
and then come back on the 13th with the counter proposals. I think the only thing that we could potentially discuss and conclude today potentially would be the Article 20. Well, we're waiting on a response already.
Um. Yeah, so if, I think where we're leaning is if we could touch base after lunch and see if you have an answer on 20. Because if not, then we would then have that time in between now and July 13th to look at any additional concerns potentially that there might be left over.
So we were thinking we would probably be able to, we were planning on dismissing at 11:30 for lunch.
Right.
And then probably the earliest we would be back here would be 1:30. You think, Donna? So then we would need time to caucus and discuss. So then perhaps we would be ready to come back to the table at 2.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
And then just text me if something happens at the board meeting as long as it sounds good.
Or if we feel like we're gonna need longer than 2.
Right.